What up, everybody? I want to say thank you for listening to this brand new episode of the No Rhyme or Reason podcast. We appreciate every single one of you for tuning in to our show. But there's a small problem. We need you to subscribe on your device, whatever it may be, whether you're checking us out on YouTube, whether you're checking us out on Facebook, no matter where you hear this, subscribe or follow the podcast so you can be alerted as to when we create a new episode for you. We've even added a link down in the description for you where you can just by one click subscribe on your favorite podcast app. Just in case you miss it, you got something going on, you're busy, we ask you to subscribe to the No Rhyme or Reason podcast. Enjoy the show. Yo, you are now tuned in to the No Rhyme or Reason podcast, presented to you by On The Map Music Group, featuring Icarus Gray, and I'm your homeboy WordPlay T.JAY. We deliver to you a dope conversation where we talk about everything for no reason at all. Tune in every Monday to join in on the conversation. And without any further delay, this is the No Rhyme or Reason podcast. And we're live.
Yeah. What's up, people? It's your boy Icarus Gray.
And it's your homeboy WordPlay T.JAY.
And this right here is the No Rhyme or Reason podcast where we talk about everything.
Everything for no reason at all. I'm definitely not gonna be switching this thing back and forth. just so you know.
It looks like it's wait. Oh,
It's
you were trying to do it. It looked like it was doing it. You are smooth with it for a second.
It's catching up, but that's the thing.
Yeah, no. But anyway, guys, so just to give you a quick update for those that are watching on live, we've switched to the Google Hangout format because we were trying to run through Google Hangouts through YouTube. And what that did was it kind of zapped a lot of our bit rate and streaming stuff. And so the visuals weren't coming through as crispy as we would like for them to. So we switched over to that. They sucked ass. And it doesn't matter for audio people because you still get the same dope, amazing quality that you always will. But for those watching us visually, you might not see me or see TJ all the time. So either way, doesn't really matter. It's not a big, huge deal. You can still hear us.
Yeah.
So how was your week? I want to do that first.
My week.
How was your week? Yeah, because it'll segue into this.
My week was I don't know, kind of relaxing, kind of challenging, right? Because I sub now, so like I'm at different schools every day. Primarily I was at the school that I'm at most of the week, so the high school down the road. But and those kids, day by day, it depends on how they're gonna act. So their energy is gonna be up or down. It just really depends. But when I went to the middle school, that was a whole nother story. And those kids had it coming. But so that was pretty much it. I was inspired to start a gaming channel on YouTube. I'll make some announcements about that later, but I came up with an intro and designed all the stuff yesterday, so that was very fun for me. And that's about it.
So my week started with a sick wife. Wife sick, got sick about Sunday. They carried into Monday. I took off because I normally work on Martin Luther King Day, and made sure she was okay. Then Tuesday we got a dusting of snow of sorts that shuts Arkansas down because we're not really used to getting any sort of cold precipitation.
The surprising thing is that this part of the country isn't either. even though we're surrounded by mountains and trees and stuff. Like
Right.
this area is not used to snow, so anytime there is snow, it shuts the city down.
So we went through that. I ended up going to work one of these days, but it was a pretty slow week, work wise. You know, you had a lot of people that were like, because of the snow day, they came into the gym full force. We had a really, really busy day about middle of the week. And towards the end of the week, I had a couple uh just happy moments.
I thought you were about to say gin and juice. I don't know why,
Oh man, I
but
wish. I'll tell you that story
I had a
off
couple
air.
gin and juice and I let it go.
Those used to be my Fridays. I'll tell you about that later. But anyway, um, but yeah, so it was a pretty cool week. Spent watching or playing Persona 5. And yesterday I started watching Blue Planet 2. Um, God, man, like the ocean is so much more fascinating than space to me.
Well, I would figure that the ocean would scare us black folks because
Oh, facts. Oh, facts. All facts. Like, because I'm sitting here looking at whales, like, oh, like
we
that
don't have
is
a
a
good
big
relationship with the ocean, right? the,
facts.
the
It,
Atlantic.
it, li-
Yeah.
you know what? The fear that black people have of sharks is not only warranted, but I feel genetic
Yeah, you
at
can't.
this
No,
point.
no.
Like, mm-mm. I think they actually do know what we taste like. Let's just
Well,
for
yeah,
whatever that's worth.
for
Like,
sure,
you know,
for sure.
like
No, because creatures and animals used to follow the slave boats. Um, well, speaking of slavery,
slave boats.
that's a weird segue, right? Speaking of
Well, we can just
slavery
we'll
and then Jim Crow, and then the ladder and the ladder and the ladder, we celebrated um, Dr. King's. Um, are his birthday was yesterday, right? If I'm not mistaken.
yes. Wait.
Okay,
Yeah,
so
I believe
I
so.
want
If
I want to
Instagram is
clean
to be
up that
believed,
one,
yes.
like because I know he passed away in April, right? Um,
Mhm.
but okay, so his birthday is on January 15th. Um, but
I know. Was I tripping?
it's
Must be
perfect
tripping.
because that's the beginning of this week, and that's what we were celebrating, Dr. King Day. So, um, that's what we want to talk about is how has his legacy really uh stood the test of time, right? What are we
Right.
seeing? What evidence are we seeing of his dream that he spoke about, right? His impact that he made on people. How far have we come? We don't want to talk about how far we have to go. We want to talk about how far we've come, because if we don't appreciate where we are, right,
Mm-hmm.
um versus where we could be, then we're not going to be, I don't know, blessed even further, right, for lack of a better term.
Right, and it drags the conversation down to kind of talk about all the different aspects of where you need to go, because that again is blinding to the things that you are benefiting from currently, and that you can use to get more benefits. So if we push these things more so in the forefront, I believe that it'll allow more people to achieve and excel.
Yeah.
Um, so the time, of course, that we were born is late 80s, and we grew up in the 90s. We talked about this last episode about the 90s impact. And I believe that Martin Luther King, in terms of his death and everything, really came to fruition in the 90s with the surge of Black television that we were able to enjoy. Um, I think that a lot of those kids, the dream was being actualized because the culture was, you know, the world at that point.
Right.
Like
So we
not only did,
started in the
yeah,
60s, and then it evolved into more and
yeah,
more television shows that were based
yeah,
on our lives.
that were based on things that it wasn't. All in the Family going into the Jeffersons at this
Right.
point.
Right.
It was, these are our shows. It was the Cosby Show going in a different world. It was Martin. It was the Wayans brothers. It was Living Single. It was
Family Matters.
Family Matters. It was four brothers. It's four, but it was a show with Tommy Davidson and Kadeem Hardison.
Yeah.
Um,
I think
like
Four
it, we
Brothers is a movie though.
or not Four Brothers. I can't think of the name. I just saw it yesterday and was like, oh yeah,
Yeah.
forgot about that. It was My Brother and Me.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
oh,
Samara.
Gullah Gullah Island. Just it's so many different things where we were able to kind of appreciate this culture and learn a lot about who we were.
Yeah. Well,
And yeah.
who deaded like that amount of television, right? Because I don't know that, maybe it's out there. It's just that we have so many channels that I don't catch it all, right? So many things get greenlit across
Right.
different stations that basically we just don't get a chance to catch on to it and really get into it.
Right.
But it doesn't seem like it's as prevalent in prime time as it once was, or more so, prime time is more inclusive to all groups, right?
Right.
Versus just black folks.
Well, that's my issue. There are different places, because I was gonna get to that. I'm not gonna do my other that issue that I've beaten the dead horse with. But Insecure is one of the big ones, one of the big leading ones for now. Power is Us.
Atlanta is coming back.
Yes, Atlanta. I love Atlanta.
Yeah.
Atlanta. So there's a lot of stuff that's coming up on the docket. I think that it's just viewed differently in terms of the categories. So you have two different categories. You have the stereotypical category, which there are so many of those shows that still fit in that Martin, over exaggeration of our lives kind of category. Well, Martin wasn't over exaggeration. They kind of just did what he did.
It was hyperbole because he's a comedian.
Yeah. Right. So you have all of the Tyler Perry shows that are still going on. You have all the shows that are on OWN, the soap opera that she has that I can't think of the name of right now. You still have all of the Love and Hip Hops. I mean, that counts, So we have all of this representation.
It is a representation.
It might not be good representation, in my opinion, but that's there. So to be able to see us on such a regular basis, to be able to say, I don't like this show, I'm gonna go watch this show, as opposed to, man, I gotta watch this show, this all we got, is like amazing.
Hold on, I'm sorry. There's like crazy noise in the background, and I didn't want it to like leak into the show because it's outrageous. So riff for a minute about your favorite show for a second.
So my favorite show currently, in the black genre, is going to be Atlanta. And I love Atlanta because not only does it give this funny look on life, it's still real. It's kind of like Curb Your Enthusiasm for Black people is what Atlanta feels like. Only or Boondocks in real life kind of thing. And that's kind of what it feels like. It's just this amazing metaphor for how we live and how we're living now. So I enjoy Atlanta the most in terms of like shows that keep me hype and get me hype or whatever. It's like that'll probably be, that is my favorite right now.
What did you watch most from your childhood? Like
probably Living Single.
Okay.
Maybe a little bit in Living Color.
Yeah.
But that was about it. Like all the other shows, like the Wayans brothers, I would catch every now and again. Jamie Foxx, I didn't like get into until like a little bit later. And I think that's it. Just about. Like there were other ones that I just can't think of on top of my head.
I remember watching a lot of things. So like um, Family Matters, A Different World. Of course,
Mm.
like reruns of The Cosby Show. Um, what else did I watched Martin. I watched Living Single. I watched, gosh, everything. Hanging with Mr. Cooper, like mad shows. Sister, right, was crazy popular.
Okay, yeah, I used to watch a lot of Sisters too.
Um, Man, I just think,
Oh, Moesha. How did I forget about Moesha?
yeah. So all of this like really connects because there was a point in time where where some people couldn't imagine seeing black faces on television if it wasn't in a negative light, right? It wasn't
Right.
realistic black stories. And I think what Martin Luther King did for all that is he said, hey, we're not going to sit here and tolerate a scenario where um, basically people are being mistreated and then other people are ignoring this maltreatment, right?
Right. It was it's such an odd, or not odd, but it's such an inspiring thing to think about what inspiration can do for people. And that's why I appreciate Obama, regardless of what anybody else thinks about him, says about him, feels about him. Dr. King did a lot of things, but he didn't get to do all of the things that he wanted to do or get to see all of the things that he wanted to do. But what he did in terms of his peaceful protest and everything he did was cause a worldwide inspiration. He gave us a viewpoint of seeing what it is that we can do when we're working together. And that will never be something that I think is not beneficial. And it's proven and shown through all of those representation of shows, like Hanging with Mr. Cooper. Like all of these different shows are coming back, rushing back to my head because there
Yeah.
were so many of them. No matter whether they went for 4 or 5 seasons, 3 seasons, or whatever. The Steve Harvey Show,
Yeah.
was another good one. D.L. Hughley Show. Like all the comedians having their own shows and pushing this fun family show.
Yeah,
I can't.
it's these situational things that we go through that maybe nobody else has ever seen before, and it paints us in a different light because propaganda would say that black people are aggressive, black people are destructive. That propaganda would say all these negative things, but propaganda wouldn't show our humanistic qualities, right? The qualities that we
Right.
all have in common with other people, and that's
Right.
that's just one of the things that I think is really valuable and really important. Is that we get shown in a good light, and yeah, some of these shows didn't broadcast in the backwoods, right? Some of these shows didn't broadcast in certain places, and some people didn't have cable to be able to see these actual realistic scenarios.
Right.
So they still have backward views, but it's so far removed from what it used to be that I'm pretty happy about it.
Right. And even these shows that were for us that were written by white people in terms of like Girlfriends, The Wire, these were still amazing, great shows that were depictions. Like the fact that Kelsey Grammer was able to write a show about powerful, hardworking black women.
Yeah, and well, a lot of people give so much credit to the main person, but a lot of these things are written in consensus anyway, right? So there's
Right.
probably other black writers on this team
No, true,
that
because
are
especially
that are
because he wouldn't have been
helping.
able to write all that. But I'm more so speaking to the fact that they would even think to do that. That's still part of the dream in the sense that it's like it's not about creed or color. Like you said, hey, this would be an amazing show.
Yeah.
And then, with the other writers, you went and pushed that forward, and we got greatest television ever in terms of like The Wire being one of the best shows, period. That gave so many different layers of society in general. And also giving that platform that says, like, I know that there are good stories here. Let's write them together. We talked about this before, the resurgence of all the comedians on Netflix is another thing that, like, I feel is a part of the legacy.
Yeah.
So
comedy being an art form in which you can express your true nature, your true feelings, your honesty and just make fun of situations, right? Black comedians are having a field day right now when it comes to Netflix.
Right.
And that's because Netflix isn't closed off like some of these other places, right? They're not owned by, it's not a Viacom corporation. It's not a corporation that's owned by such and such and such and such, right? It's owned by this one guy that created it, and he wants to see a wide variety of programming, and
Right.
that gives them an opportunity to have a new life when some people would have said their career is over.
I do want to ask you this because I've seen recently the stuff with Monique. And she went to Netflix to try and get a special going. And I believe they lowballed her a number that was lower than what Amy Schumer or something was getting. And so she declined it, and now she's asking for the Black community to boycott Netflix. Because, if that's how they'll do, like, she can't accept that because, like, why would you do her specifically like that? And it just seems kind of like Monique has been in this odd storm. I know this is an off tangent, but just the storm of, like, ever since she won that Oscar, it's just been kind of difficult for her for whatever reason. Like, she has
her
been
term would be
visually
that she's been
blackballed.
Yeah.
And so that's just I wonder, I kind of just wonder how we get away from that, or if there's a way to get away from that, given all the opportunities and stuff that we have now. Or, does she have a point?
My gut says that it's not personal. I just think the people that are writing the checks are out of touch with Monique.
Right. Okay.
And if they're out of touch with Monique, then, I mean, I don't know, turn it down. But maybe I don't know. Like, I don't know too many details about the conversation, right? So I don't know if she fought for herself. I don't know if she said this number's too low and then just turned around and said no, right? And then entertain anything else.
Essentially what she said
I know for a fact that, Netflix isn't stingy with the budget, right? We know that.
Well, what she said is she came to them saying, like, I'm sure she was requesting a certain number. It was like, well, this is a little bit too low. And she said that she presented her resume in terms of, well, this is why I should get this. And they said, well, we don't do resumes. Like, it's not about resumes here, which I do think falls in line a little bit with the stuff that they put on there. But then what happened is she asked about Amy Schumer, and they gave her, like, well, she did this and she was doing this. And she was like, well, that's a resume. And if you don't go by resumes, then
right,
a kind of false equivalent.
Yeah, it's more of what they should have said is we deal with what's going on now culturally with this person, how impactful they are right now. Because even if Dave Chappelle was not active, Dave Chappelle was still very front of mind for people. If you start naming off comedians, I, it's kind of hit or miss, but Monique is not first of mind for me. Now, Monique deserves to be first of mind when I think about her accolades, but in the now, she's not first of mind, right?
Right.
Every time she does an interview, it reminds me that she's still around, and that shouldn't be the case, right?
Right. But is that on? I feel like that's more on the fact that she has been blackballed and blackballed in a way that's like she's not crazy. Like I don't think that she's crazy. I don't think she's lost her mind and is in a place where she's no longer like able to order her thoughts. But it feels like it feels like the Dave Chappelle stuff.
Yeah.
Honestly.
Yeah. Well,
But
like
anyway.
it probably is very much that situation. Um, but I can't tell anybody what to do, or nor can I say what the right move is, or but in my gut it says, okay, so they blackball you, go around them. You're a powerful black woman, go around them. Put out your own shit, right? Do some other things. Don't take no checks. Write your own checks, invest in yourself, and then keep it moving. I don't know her finances. I don't know her business. I don't know anything like that. And I may be speaking out of turn, but I mean, do what you got to do. Like, I don't know. Creatives like you and me are out here scrapping, and we're not out here, you know, looking for any single opportunity to come save us, right? We're making our
Right.
own way. And somebody as powerful as she is, whether or not the industry sees it or not, whether or not anybody messes with her or not, anybody as powerful as she is has a leg to stand on, especially when the internet exists. There's just no excuses anymore.
No, we never had that. And that's the interesting thing, like about when I hear her speak. But I'm not gonna get any further than that because I feel like that's gonna end up being
Well, it
like a whole
ties
nother
hand in
thing.
hand with the legacy, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah. Like
now, because of the internet, we have more of a voice. And do you think
right.
the internet would have been something that was accessible to to black people in the same capacity had Dr. King not did what he did?
I don't think we would have searched for I think the death of him, the death of Malcolm X, the assassinations, I should say, um, gave us the drive to search for real information. With what we know about Martin Luther King's death, what we know about Malcolm X's death, like you had to seek information. I also wonder, just because of the way, and we always do this, you put it in the bubble of what if those things had to happen now. I feel like if those things had to happen now, like man, it is great that we are able to enjoy the fruits of the labor, or the fruits of the legacy, and be able to kind of push that legacy forward. Because if Martin Luther King and Malcolm X had to go through the internet, like they tried to talk about all of the things that happened with Martin Luther King, you know, his infidelity or whatever.
I don't know that
But could you
they would have been assassinated.
oh no, I don't know if they would have been touched, but the credibility, they would have just they would have just tried to shoot their credibility to shit. Like, you know, like every other week, like it would have been a People magazine interview with another girl that had slept with Malcolm. And then
Yeah.
like
Well,
out here doing interviews,
they do it to
like
Jay-Z now,
yeah,
right?
Coretta's out here doing interviews, like I mean, my husband, you know, just
Yeah.
like I love her, like you know what I'm saying. Like
Yeah.
that would be bananas. Like
They
I
they do it to people that aren't particularly politically involved.
right.
So we found out this week that Title, I can't remember what spot they're on my list, but they're somewhere high up on the list as the top um, revenue payers to musicians,
Mm-hmm.
and they're definitely in the top three of my choice to promote. Um, and that's because it's owned by somebody that wants to pay musicians. And everywhere you turned when Tidal began, it was like, oh, all these artists are demanding that they get paid, and they're already rich. That was the story, right? And so every time you turn, there's a new negative story about Tidal, right? It's the equivalent of assassinating someone, right? Now you don't have to go as far as murder. You know what I mean? Because you can put out enough stories to flood out their story, their real story.
Right. Like I can
And it
only
can look,
imagine them trying to do that then. Like the Malcolm X, like I could just see now, like they would have every last one of his mug shots. They would throw the rap sheet up from before he became Malcolm X. It would be, but I just see, I do wonder, and I do think it would be interesting. Like that would be interesting television show to like take what you think would have happened if those leaders had to do what they did then today,
that
and
would be a
like
good show.
you know, you like put them in these modern situations. Like modernizing things normally gives a lot of us brand new perspectives, and this is a part of the legacy too.
Yeah.
The fact that we can think about these
Yeah.
things.
Yeah. And it's not even like a time travel scenario. It's not that they just wake up and they're in the present day. That would be incredible to if Martin Luther King had a Twitter.
Yeah, let's start writing. And not the Boondocks version, man. Like the Boondocks version was good, but that was making a bigger point on like I didn't die for this shit. Like you like you nigga. Like no, it wasn't. It's not for that. But it would be an interesting thing to kind of see different black leaders in like that. It was just I'm going to do something with that. But anyway, another aspect of the legacy is always going to be sports. Like Martin Luther King Day is normally the day where it's kind of like basketball's holiday. Basketball is played all day on Martin Luther King Day. It's not like Super Bowl or how New Year's is about football. It's mostly about basketball. And the legacy of all the players and stuff that have come forth that were around those times that, you know, stood with Muhammad Ali and so on and so forth to now in LeBron and Dwayne Wade and Chris Paul and all these others that and Steph Curry for football with Kaepernick. Kaepernick in general is another part of that legacy that I think is amazing. But the sports aspect of it and how many influential players there are based off of that legacy, based off the legacy of this is what I saw and this is what I'm not gonna allow is just great. So like it's just showing on every level, and we've mentioned a lot of entertainment kind of things. I did mention Barack Obama earlier, but it's every facet of everywhere, man. And I've heard sometimes that when are we gonna stop, you know, praising the first or something like that? Like the first person to do this, blah blah blah. And it's like, well, when there's no more of those. Like,
well, somebody has to do it first, right? In order to encourage the next person to be the second, right? So if there is no first, there normally is, right? It just kicks the can down the road until there is a first. That's just a big part of it.
right.
But I mean, people are gonna say ignorant shit like that anyway, so let them be who they are. So my biggest thing is, okay, so what does it mean for children like us, children that are coming, that, you know, younger generations than us, well, I say younger generations, but like millennials are really widespread.
which is just some newfangled bullshit to not have to take any sort of credibility for the fact that you are also a part of this generation, or the ones before us that like are a year off. Like, come on, man, like a year. You not a millennial, all right, bro. It's all right.
Yeah. But I was getting at the point that people
Sorry, my bad, my bad.
so angry, man.
Man, look, dog, they be trying to they be trying to make everything seem like, oh, you millennials don't want to work, and it's just like,
Yeah,
bruh,
yeah.
you don't
And
do
it really doesn't matter. They don't remember where they were.
exactly. That's
So
pow, 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 pow. Shots.
they don't realize where we are. So like generations, like the hatred, the racism, the I don't know, the classism and these type of things, they're starting to get sort of washed out day by day by day. And I'm kind of happy about that, because that means that Dr. King's legacy has a ripple effect, right? Every generation it gets a little bit the racist part, right? Gets a little bit more diluted year after year after year. And I'm pretty happy about that. I'm pretty happy that my kids or my kids will deal with less bullshit than I did, and it'll continue
Right.
to trickle down. Now, does that mean that systematic things aren't still prevalent? No, that doesn't mean that. But how like we have to do our part in encouraging other generations to get into things that we weren't getting into, right? So, for example, like encouraging younger generations to be active in politics, encouraging younger generations to be active in the police forces, right? So they actually police the community that they come from. Being active in a wide variety of different things, the court systems and jobs and all these other things. Encourage people to be entrepreneurs, encourage people to open businesses, encourage people to be the best people that they can be so they can support other people in some sort of way. And I just think if we do that, then we'll eventually start washing out a lot of crap, because you can't walk away from the goodness in the world. You can't get away
No,
from it. There's all this chaos normally, but the chaos usually comes to a quiet, right? There's always a calm after the storm.
and that's a lot of happiness there. And we talked about this yesterday about the bubble that we grew up in, and how I feel it benefits the legacy in the sense that it's like that when things started to become ugly, the fact is that I was able to remember that bubble and at least remember that this doesn't have to be what is going forward. And I think that that is a driving force to continue these things, to continue washing the things away. And yeah, it might take forever, but it's still going to keep moving forward. Like there's nothing that's going to stop it.
Yeah.
Every visual representation of negativity that we can see allows us to be like, well, hey, I don't want this. I don't want this to be a thing. I want to fight for this. Even the way in pushing the generations toward politics and everything else, you can be the change. If you think that politics are horrible in a place where no moral values can exist, make that place, create that environment for them to understand and to go about this in a way that doesn't have to slander or doesn't have to do whatever that is actually trying to do for the people. Create environments where the Black Wall Street, all of the doctors and stuff that we had that were amazing and pivotal in creating all the different things, like George Washington Carver, in terms of the millions of things that he helped bring to fruition with his inventions. Like bring that energy back, and we have that energy. It's just not getting as much light as as what it should, because
Yeah,
these
and
things
we
are
have to
moving
be
us
we
way
have to be
forward.
encouraged. We have to be encouraged because Dr. King's
Yeah,
legacy was a matter of being sure that we encourage equal opportunity for everyone. And equal opportunity doesn't mean that everybody goes and be, goes and tries to be a doctor or a lawyer. Equal opportunity is that black kids now study engineering, right? So when I
right.
went to University of Arkansas, I stayed in a dorm room with two black engineers, right? And there were other black engineers that would come in and study with them, right? And they were also alphas, and they were, there was another engineer in the dorm that was white. And when I came in as an art student, I was like, well, what am I doing here? like, but everybody has to play their part and play their role, right? So if my intent is to be an artist and to be creative, then I need to be creative, and that skill and that thing needs to be fostered, right? If I
Right.
want to be a musician, if I want to be a rapper, and I'm dedicated to it, right? Then that needs to be fostered. Not everybody wants to be a rapper, as much as it looks like it does, right? it like the ones that really are dedicated to it are in a minority, and so when it boils down to it, there are more like engineers, there's more computer programmers out there. We just have to make these things look attractive to black people, black women especially, right?
Right.
Because
They're at the
I
forefront
believe
of a lot of
hopefully
these
that black
things.
women are incredibly underserved as far as their professions, right? So we pigeonhole ourselves into tradition, right? So black women should be nurses and black women should be this and that, right? Or some profession that is stereotypical for a woman, right? And that's not the case. I want to see female, black female scientists and black female engineers go into things that you're not in, that the society says that you're not supposed to go into.
Right. And I
And
do believe that there's more widespread representation of them in that they hold a lot of those titles. Um,
yeah,
there's just not much light shown on them, and there
yeah, you
should be
got Black
because
Girls
there's a lot of them.
Code, and you have other
Yeah.
things that happen. So, the current, if I'm not mistaken, the current, I think it's chief marketing officer of of uh of Uber is a
Mm,
black female,
I think so.
and she came from Beats and worked for Apple for a little bit, and worked for some other big companies like Pepsi and so forth. But my deal is it's important to show other people being successful on a regular basis, and then not discourage kids from trying to dream, because
Right.
we do that as a culture, as black culture. We beat dreams out of each other.
Even when we don't think about it, like Married to Medicine is a show about women who are doctors or married to doctors, but have amazing degrees and stuff. But of course, it's in that love and hip hop Atlanta Housewives vein. So instead of just being like this thing where I should celebrate the fact that you're amazing at this, I'm also looking like, why are y'all about to fight? Like, why is this like it happens in life? And I do understand that it is reality that sometimes people get into it, but on reality television, if you're getting into it, you're only getting into it because your producers put you in a situation where everything was tension for television.
Yeah, it's manufactured most of the time.
Yeah. Like, and so like I want a show where you just see the amazingness. Like Insecure, regardless of any of it, like is still an amazing depiction of Black relationships. There's on YouTube Black and Sexy, and they do a lot of different relationship things that are pure and true to form, and gives a nice depiction of this that is reality in terms of creatives. Um, what I also think in terms of the legacy and things that are pushing the legacy forward is the way in which we are trying to carry what they did in the new era. So when I was talking about the show earlier about Martin Luther King or Malcolm X being born in this era, I then think of Kaepernick and all the things that he's done and is doing. And like this week, like it was 10K in 10 days. It was $10,000 that he was donating to different charities, being matched by the celebrities that were um, joining him in this challenge. And with that being the case, it's like this thing to where now not only do we have the platform, we can now fund all of these different programs. We can fund the engineering program. The school, I believe in New York, that just opened for different kids in terms of engineering and stuff like that. You can think about Jalen Rose's charter school in Detroit, and just all of the places where we're able to put the money back into the neighborhood. All of the things that Killer Mike does down in Atlanta for kids. Him and Tip are a part of the new Atlanta mayor's transition team.
Yeah.
You know, like these are the things that are allowing us forms that are more secure than they've ever been. And it's just an amazing growth. It's amazing evolution.
Yeah. So what I think can be a shining light is that more and more people are deciding to do something different than the previous generation, right?
Right.
So oftentimes if you grow up in a terrible situation, right, the dream is not to repeat that last scenario, right? You got this emotion built up in you, and these questions built up in you that say, hey, can I get out of this? How can I be different than my last generation? How can I do something different to where my kids don't have to go through this? And so because we're asking those questions, we're always going to expand past it. And I'm just excited about seeing what happens and seeing where people take it to the next level, right? I want to see more Black business owners, right? I want to see more Black people into things that people would make fun of Black people for, right? So if you code, do more of it. If you play games, do more of it. If you do art, do more of it, right? Whatever it is that you do more of it. And I think it'll be a great thing to see. I want to close out on a topic, but go ahead and talk about something that's a little bit different from the current topic, because we're talking about change and we're talking about how we can be an impact in the community. And of course, this podcast is very, very proactive when it comes to our politics. We don't sway anybody on what to think. We have our own opinions, but if you agree, if you disagree, that's up to you, right? So we don't want to have people that agree with us all the time. We want people that are open to actually talk about it. And so 2018 marks the midterm elections, And it's very important to us that people, no matter what your opinion is, no matter what your stance is, to participate in the 2018 midterms. And we want everybody to participate because the last election was won because of lack of participation. And we're not putting the onus on, if that's you, right? We're not putting the onus on you, but we are saying that the results are the results, right? So you now have to live with your lack of participation. And we don't want to see that. We don't want to see your lack of participation be a beacon for whatever choice comes down the road, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so we have a couple links that are in the description. One going to vote.gov. It shows you how to register in your home state. If you're already registered, we have another link to vote411.org, which will give you information about the candidates that are up for elections. So there are several seats in the Senate, and there are several seats in the House of Representatives that are up for grabs. But it's not just the national elections that we need to pay attention to. There are local people that look like you that need your support to win. There are folks like mayors and judges and board, representatives for every county, city council, those types of things
Sheriffs.
that, right, sheriffs, those types of things that are important for you to go vote for. So, for example, if you have a sheriff in town and you don't agree with how the police are acting, right, be a voice for that and go and participate in the voting this November. We want to get ahead of it. That's why we're talking about it in January, and we're going to be talking about it all the way up until November. So this speech, this rant, is all about making sure that if you have the ability to participate, go participate. Both of these websites have all the criteria that you need in order to walk into a precinct, voice your opinion, and then walk out with a different opinion. The great thing about places like Washington State is that the ballot comes to my place and I can vote without even going out somewhere. All I got to do is drop it back in the mailbox. If you think things like that should happen in your state, talk about it. Be a voice of change. Say, hey, we want mail-in ballots because we think more people would participate. Then I think that you should be a voice for whatever you want to see happen. And it's not just, oh, this is a red state, this is a blue state, I can't do anything about it. No, you can do something about it, and 2018 is the time.
And the biggest issue a lot of the times is just not being informed, and that's not something that we're going to allow here. So here we're going to give you everything, like with the links to get all the information that you need. A lot of times I know I've gone to the ballots, and because I will go regardless, and not knowing who the person was, not seeing their face, not knowing what their politics was, and that was ignorant of me. And because of all the things that we have available to us now, I'm not going to be that ignorant going into these midterm elections. And we also want to be able to provide that same accessibility for you, because that will help in making it not, you don't have to make this mountain out of a molehill.
All right, so that's it. If you've enjoyed the show, be sure to comment down in the comment section. Rate us for the podcast. It helps us get sponsors and it helps us get income for the show, so we can buy new equipment and things of that nature, and we can also further do things down the road. Be sure to subscribe wherever you are, whether it be Facebook, whether it be YouTube, or if it's on your mobile device, be sure to do that too. And
Right. And if
That's
you
it.
also want to start a podcast, we have a list of all the things that we use to do this podcast every week in the description as well. Links to each piece of equipment, to Amazon, which not only helps you start your own voice, helps us continue to use ours. So make sure you check those out. Knowledge is for understanding and not to prove others wrong. This has been the No Rhyme or Reason podcast with Icarus Gray.
And your homeboy Wordplay T.JAY.
And we'll see you guys week after week after week. Never missing a beat.
Peace.
Peace. No Rhyme or Reason is an On the Map music group production.